Hello, 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 and welcome to Nursing News You Can Use live at 5. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. Today is January the 29th, 2025, and we're here every Wednesday at 5 o'clock to give you the news. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our affirmation for today. And it says, "You are a badass. Get out of your head and take action. You don't have to know exactly where it's going to take you. You just need to start with one thing that feels right and keep following right feeling things and see where they lead." So, we're going to take massive action. And this is the year of action that we have declared that for Baxter Professional Services. So, this is from the You Are a Badass calendar by Jen Sincero for 2025. All right, so that's our affirmation for today. Let's go ahead and get started on our show with the news. So here's our first article. And of course, just as I get ready to get started, it's not wanting to cooperate. So while I wait, I'm going to say, how y'all doing? All right, let me see if I can get this working. As this always happens, right? You get ready to get started and all of a sudden it's not wanting to respond. So let me get out and come back in. All right, we'll give this another go. Here we go. All right, and here's our first story for today. And this is coming out of McKnight's Long Term Care News. And it says 70K nursing home residents or patients will have personal data stolen in a breach. Several skilled nursing facilities in Ohio and Pennsylvania have sent letters to thousands of patients informing them of a data breach. They gained access to their names, date of birth, social security numbers, and other sensitive information. Approximately 70,000 HCF management patients from facilities across the chain's network of SNFs have had their data obtained by Ransom Hub, a ransomware organization. And according to Bank Info Security, 250 gigabytes of this information was placed onto the group's dark web website. One of the chain's nursing homes said on January 9th that its management company system was attacked and it had spent months examining the possible damage. Hempfield Manor learned that a third party gained access to certain of its management company's computer systems on October 3rd, 2024. The management company advised that it determined an unknown, unauthorized third party first gained access to its computer systems on September 17th of 2024, and during that time, accessed and acquired certain documents from those systems. On November 19th, 2024, the management company determined the information involved for each individual varied. The Lima, Ohio-based chain now joins a list of other providers who were recently hacked. In October of 2023, Atlas Healthcare CT announced that personal information of individuals who received care at 3 of its locations may have been exposed. The facilities were Manchester Rehabilitation and Healthcare Center in Manchester, Connecticut, and Vernon Rehabilitation and Healthcare Center in Vernon, Connecticut, and Arbors of Hopbrook, a Manchester, Connecticut assisted living community. In October 2024, Ohio-based Care Spring Healthcare Management was hit with 3 federal class action lawsuits for a major data breach that may have affected nearly 80,000 residents. According to Bank Info Security, nearly 4,800 Hempfield Manor residents were affected by the attack, making it the HCF nursing home with the most impacted patients. But Heritage Healthcare, let's see here. Sorry, I've lost my. There it goes. But Heritage Healthcare, a healthcare-owned facility, healthcare company, had the largest breach of all. The chain's facilities affecting more than 12,000 people. Hempfield's memo said that its management company is working to ensure similar incidents don't happen in the future by enhancing technical security measures and security policies. And again, they're out there fishing because I had a phishing attack happen to me just recently here. Someone tried to get information posing as someone else from a school that I'm working with and sent me some fraudulent information. And then I happened to notice that they were trying to get access to my account from a European country. and I was able to get that stopped. So again, they're out there fishing. So be very careful when you're clicking any of those links. Make sure the person who sent it to you is actually sending it to you. So be very, very careful about that. All right, so let's get into some healthcare news that may affect all of us, but in particular, this is for the state of California. This is coming from USA Today, and it says new strain of bird flu found in California, current status in maps. So please head on over to USA Today if you'd like to see a copy of the map. I just want to give you some information. So, new bird flu, highly pathogenic avian influenza outbreak has been discovered in California. The newly reported H5N9 strain was found Monday at a duck farm in Merced County, California, according to the World Organization for Animal Health. The Paris-based organization that studies animal diseases said its first verified U.S. case of H5N9 in poultry. The organization said the more common strain, H5N1, was also found. As the number of U.S. bird flu cases increases, whole poultry farms have been wiped out in efforts to control the virus. Do you know what this means? I'm sorry for y'all, but I have to say it. Chicken wings are going to go back up again, and they're probably going to be nowhere to be found. So just to let you know, this is a crisis. Okay, not to make light of this, but it is. This is going to affect all of us. So let's go on. Okay, so as during the past 3 years, bird flu has been reported in more than 150 million birds in 618 counties and all 50 states, according to the CDC data as of January the 24th. The CDC recommends people such as backyard flock owners, hunters, and bird enthusiasts take extra precautions if they work around or have recreational exposure to birds or farm animals. The bird flu has spread through dairy cattle through the U.S. and has led to several human cases between October and December of 2024, when the number of cases in birds began to increase. The majority of cases in cattle, 673 out of 929, were found to have the disease. So as it goes from the birds, it now goes to the cattle. So this is what's happening. Just so you'll know, if there's any symptoms for the bird flu in humans, well, it's still uncommon for the flu viruses to jump to humans. Humans can contract the disease through the mouth, ears, or nose, eyes. Mouth, eyes, or nose. And in some cases, people have inhaled the virus after coming in contact with an infected animal. So what are you going to look for? Mild symptoms include fever, cough, sore throat, body aches, eye infections, runny nose, stuffy nose, fatigue, and muscle aches. Symptoms can be severe if you have shortness of breath, a high fever, pneumonia, and severe respiratory disease. So that's in California. So you're thinking, okay, well, that's California. That's out west. We don't have to worry. But here's another story that came out, and this is from ABC News. Bird flu is widespread among birds in Massachusetts. So now we're looking at the other side of the country. And this is why I'm bringing this up, because it can be a health issue. And again, this is a healthcare show, so I want to give you the information so you can make good choices. Wash your hands. If you got around, birds, like you're, raising birds and things like that, be on the lookout for the bird flu in your flocks here. So it says, bird flu appears to be widespread among the birds in Massachusetts. State health and environmental officials said Wednesday. The Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources, and the Massachusetts Department of Public Health said bird flu, also known as highly pathogenic avian influenza, is suspected to be the cause of death in cases of both wild and domestic birds in several Massachusetts municipalities. Evidence suggests that the HPAI is widespread in Massachusetts and is likely present even in places where there has not been a confirmed positive. State officials are working with partners to test suspected cases and collaborating with municipalities to safely dispose of dead birds. Raptors, waterfowl, and other aquatic birds have the highest risk for the infection, but any bird species should be considered susceptible. Foxes and wild mammals that scavenge on birds are also at risk. So again, this is how these things will spread. The officials added that they are advising the public to refrain from handling birds or other animals that are dead or appear sick and reported suspected cases. There has been a long history of intermittent bird flu outbreaks in Massachusetts since early 2022. And early January, an outbreak of bird flu was suspected of causing the death of Canadian geese, swans, and other birds in Plymouth. Now, more positive cases are being reported. So, again, this is something that's come out. I just wanted to let you know. We've already gone over some of those signs and symptoms in humans, so just be aware. If you're handling birds, this is what's going on across the country. Okay, let's get into. Okay, I'm going to jump to this story because this story came to me, and I thought, what is going on with the young people today? I'm going to say this because yes, they're vilifying this young lady, but I have to say part of the problem is we live in a generation where everything has to go viral. People like to do videos, their whole life is exposed on videos and not making good choices. So please make better choices. This is from USA Today. It says disgusted healthcare worker charged after video shows her dancing over disabled patient. A Georgia healthcare worker was arrested on a felony charge Tuesday after she allegedly posted a viral video online of her dancing provocatively over a disabled patient at their home. Let me get this right. Lucretia Cormasis Koyan, 19, is charged with one count of exploitation of a disabled person in connection to the reported incident in Loganville, which was filmed and posted on social media, according to the police department and online records. The city is about 35 miles northeast of Atlanta. In a news release, Loganville Police Chief M.D. Lowry wrote his agency was tipped off about the disturbing video on January the 23rd. So here's what's happened, okay? I'm breaking it down to you. For whatever reason, this young lady, working as an in-home adult daycare employee, decided to twerk in front of a patient and then posted it online. Why you would think that would be acceptable is beyond me. And I'm quite concerned about the adult daycare and what they're teaching the individuals who work for them to do. But young people, don't do this. CNAs watch the show too. Please don't engage in this type of behavior. I tell this to you all the time because this is why. The circumstances and licensure of the business she works for, the chief said, are part of an ongoing investigation. So now the business is being investigated as well. I was appalled and disgusted that anyone would create such a video featuring a disabled person. As police officers, our highest duty is to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And my detectives worked swiftly as possible to bring charges in this incident. According to a statement from the chief, detectives opened an investigation and on Tuesday morning executed a search warrant and arrested Koyan of Loganville. Koyan was booked into the Walton County Jail. A Walton County Sheriff's Office told USA Today that she was in the process of being released after posting a $7,500 bond on Wednesday morning. So as of Wednesday, she's not appeared before a judge for her first appearance. And again, all people are innocent until proven guilty. An attorney record was not listed on the filing today. But apparently there was a second video that they are looking into where there was more behavior. And this isn't just her dancing in front of the patient, but it was sort of dancing over the patient's face. So according to the second video that I had, the second article that I had, it was a little bit more egregious than that. And in fact, let me look here if I can find that real quick, because I sent it to myself this morning because I couldn't believe what I saw. And so I sent it to myself this morning, and then I happened to find it from USA Today. But there's a second video as well, allegedly, that they are looking into against this young woman. So I say this, I can't find it at the moment, but I say this again, young people, don't do this. For a matter of fact, anybody don't do this. Old people don't do this. But seriously, this is not professional behavior. And just because you can't do something, what you do on your own time away from people, but don't involve your patients. Don't involve your patients in this because that's gonna give you trouble, and that's just horrible. And so I'm not going to show you the pictures of this, but it says that they are looking. There's another article through Newsbreak says there's a second video. They are looking at both of them. They had checked on the alleged victims, and they are not in any danger. But apparently, according to this, her TikTok video had countless videos on TikTok before it was being deleted. The station reported viewers called and messaging saying she was also made a dancing video with a man seated in a bathtub, but that is yet to be confirmed by the police. Y'all, yeah, don't do this. Do not do this. I had to find it. Do not do that. I don't understand why she thought that this would be okay. But yeah, don't do this. So I just wanted to share that. On that note, before we move on to our next story, because this is just, yeah, reprehensible, let's go ahead and have a break. Are you looking for basic life support CPR classes? Teachers, do you need to get your CPR requirement completed for your certification renewal? Nursing students, want to get a jump start on preparing for clinicals? Healthcare workers, do you need to renew your certification for your employer? Baxter Professional Services Health Education has what you need. Friends and Family CPR is available for anyone who wants to learn. Register today at Baxter Professional Services HealthEducation.com. All right. Let's just shake that one off. Okay, let's get on to our next story. Iowa bill could replace school nurses with athletic trainers. This is coming from ABC News as well, out of Iowa. And it says, at the Iowa State Capitol, lawmakers are working on a bill to hire athletic trainers in place of school nurses. Okay, all who think that's a good idea, raise your hand. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, let's move on. As of now, state code requires a licensed nurse, but some rural districts are struggling to fill the positions. And probably because of very low pay, they do not pay school nurses enough, but let's go on. It says the bill passed House Subcommittee last week and now heads to the full Health and Human Services Committee for consideration. However, the Iowa State Education Association opposes the bill. And I would hope that the school nurses as well oppose that bill. But if you're in Iowa, I wanted you to let you know that this is coming. And so if you're a nurse in Iowa, please make sure that you let them know that that's not a good idea. Nothing against athletic trainers, but they do not have a background to do some of the things that nurses are trained to do. They just are not nurses. And so that sets a very dangerous precedent. All right, let's talk a little bit more about what's happening in healthcare. And because these things are happening in healthcare, we're have to talk about them. So I'm just resigning myself that I am going to have to talk about some things here, not to be political, but because it does directly affect our practice. So from here on out, I'm letting you know this is what we're going to talk about because it's a very important. And by the way, I did the same thing for every administration. So if it's something that affects healthcare, we're going to talk about it. So that being said, from Skilled Nursing News, judge blocks Trump's funding freeze as nursing homes remain unclear of impact. Last Tuesday, a federal judge blocked a funding freeze issued by the White House Office of Management and Budget, the OMB, that aimed to temporarily pause federal grants and loans. The freeze could have affected trillions of dollars in government spending and potentially impacted the nursing home sector as many public programs were halted. And that, when I heard that, it also made me wonder about what happens to students who are getting student loans and going to school. I mean, this disruption that could happen from this could have a lasting effect on the government. So I need us to think about this. So anyway, as we go on, it says U.S. District Judge Lauren Alekin blocked it from being implemented for now, minutes before it was to go into effect at 5 p.m. The judge's order will expire on February 3rd at 5 p.m. According to the original memo on the funding freeze, it requires federal agencies to cease all activities related to the obligation or disbursement of federal financial assistance, including the issuance of new grants. However, the pause will not affect Social Security or Medicare benefits, nor assistance provided directly to individuals. Prior to the block, the White House clarified late Tuesday that the freeze should not be applied to programs like Medicaid and food assistance that are funded through block grants to state and local governments, which handle distribution. And the freeze is meant to give agencies time to review whether federal grants and loans are in compliance with the recent executive actions taken by Trump. The court said it needed more time to understand the impact of the funding freeze. Rachel Reeves, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs at the American Healthcare Association and National Center for Assisted Living, said the situation is evolving and being monitored closely. We anticipate more developments in the coming days. We'll continue to encourage policymakers to ensure that providers have the resources they need to maintain and strengthen the continuity of care. Given the lack of clarity on some levels, the precise impact is unclear at this time. We are assessing the impact of the pause on long-term and post-acute care providers. This is a rapidly changing situation, and we appreciate the administration has offered additional clarity following the announcement. That said, the funding freeze, which is also being legally challenged by Democrats, adds an additional layer of mystery to how it and President Trump's inaugural day executive orders halting new regulations will impact nursing homes in the interim. For now, it is known that the health grants distributed by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and state aid for disaster reconstruction might also face delays. While it's unclear if the funding ban will affect rebuilding efforts in communities ravaged by Hurricane Helene in late 2024, the budget office did state in the memo that it may grant exemptions, allowing federal agencies to issue new awards or take other actions on a case-by-case basis. While Trump's various executive orders, including freezing all regulations for 90 days and temporary funding for various programs, there is still so much unknown at this point in time. So we'll be keeping abreast of what's happening as it may affect the care that we are able to provide. So, in a related story from Healthcare Drive, Judge halts Trump's freeze on grants as states report healthcare payment portals back online. So I just happened to be talking to an individual right before I hopped on today, and he was talking about working with an individual that was struggling because they weren't able to get their payments through for their medication and things like that. They weren't able to get their medication because there were billing issues, and the portals for healthcare were down. So it says state and providers regained access to key healthcare payment portals late Tuesday amid widespread backlash over the Trump administration's decision to halt federal aid. A federal judge on Tuesday temporarily halted the Trump administration's freeze on federal financial assistance, bringing to a close arguably the most chaotic day in Washington since the president assumed power. Buckle up. I'm pretty sure there'll be more to come. U.S. District Judge Lauren Alkin blocked Trump's aid freeze scant minutes before it was set to take effect at 5 p.m. Eastern Time Tuesday. The administrative stay, which was requested by a group of nonprofits suing the administration for withholding federal dollars, lasts until another court hearing on the issue Monday afternoon. So we have a very short reprieve. A lack of clear answers from the White House about what programs would be affected by the funding pause caused widespread worry and confusion on Tuesday, including in the healthcare sector, which receives the majority of federal grants. The situation was exacerbated by states and providers losing access to key portals through which they draw down federal funds, including Medicaid. The sites remained down even after the Trump administration clarified that the massive safety net insurance program was exempt from the spending moratorium. So again, this is what was happening. So my friend was saying that he was trying to get his wife's medicine, but they were having billing issues and he wasn't able to pick it up because they weren't able to get it paid for. The situation, let's see. However, states have recovered access to their Medicaid portals as of Wednesday morning, which is today. Multiple state officials confirmed to Healthcare Dive. It appears that states regain access in ways, with Oklahoma, for example, being able to access the system by 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, but New York not able to do so until Wednesday morning. The Medicaid portal was never meant to be shut down, and no payments were affected, according to White House Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt and Republican lawmakers. The problem has been clarified, and the Medicaid portal is fully operational as we speak, said Senator Mike Crapo, um, representative from Idaho, Republican from Idaho, excuse me, Wednesday morning during the Senate Help Committee's confirmation hearing of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as HHS Secretary. By the way, if you haven't watched that confirmation hearing, I just happened to tune in to part of it. It's a doozy, y'all. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep abreast of this because, one, it affects us in healthcare. If we don't get paid, how we're going to pay for the care of the patients that we take care of, it's a whole big, massive, train wreck waiting to happen. Okay. All right, here's another story. It's not what I wanted to say, but again, we try to keep it classy and keep it clean here. All right, so this is from Reuters. It says major tuberculosis outbreak hits Kansas City. So I want to make you aware of what's happening so that you can be prepared, nurses, as we go forward, and others in the healthcare field, how you can know what's going on in your community. So an outbreak of tuberculosis in Kansas City area has grown into one of the largest ever recorded in the U.S., with dozens of active cases, the infectious disease reported, according to health officials. So some of these stories I was tipped off to on Blue Sky. This happened to be on Blue Sky earlier today. And some of these stories I was tipped off to. So when I started to go in to look at them, and like, sure enough, this stuff is happening. Now we got tuberculosis coming out. We had bird flu. What is next? What is next? So as of January 24, 67 active cases of tuberculosis, or TB, had been reported in Wyandotte and Johnson counties in Kansas. The outbreak began last year. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment said on its website it did not specify a source of the outbreak. Tuberculosis, which spreads through the air, is caused by a bacterium that typically affects the lungs but can impact other parts of the body, such as the brain, according to U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. If not treated, it can be fatal. People who become infected with tuberculosis that can live in the body for years without causing symptoms, called inactive or latent TB. Without receiving treatment, those people can develop active tuberculosis at any time. Since 2024, 79 latent infections have been reported in Kansas City, according to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. 4 staff from the CDC are on site providing assistance with contact tracing, testing, and screening, and working with community leaders on health education, an agency spokesman said. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment did not immediately respond to requests for comment for this story. The U.S. recorded 8,649 cases of tuberculosis last year and 9,606 in 2023, according to the CDC. Tuberculosis replaced COVID-19 as the top cause for infectious disease-related deaths in 2023, according to a World Health Organization report published in October, highlighting the challenges of the global effort in eradicating the disease. And as a TB instructor myself, this is one of the things that I try to emphasize with people. If you have a case of latent TB, you need to treat it so that they will not convert into active TB. So latent TB is just as important, just as serious. You need to treat it. You don't have to be quarantined for latent TB, but you do need to be treated. And I encourage people to complete their treatment, because when you don't complete your treatment, that may lead to drug-resistant TB, which none of us want to have. Okay? All right, so I'm leaving that up to you all. Let's get into the next story. So this is a story kind of going back to about a year or so ago. We've talked about this more and more, but I want to share this. So this is from nurse.org, and it's talking about the mass exodus of Filipino nurses coming to the U.S. to work, which is leaving shortages in the Philippines for qualified nursing staff. And this is an issue that we've talked about before in the show, where we've seen kind of what they call the brain drain from other countries like the Philippines to go to the UK, the United States, etc. And there's been a pushback against other countries, for siphoning off their nursing talent. So a recent St. Denis medical episode titled Salamat U2 focused on the Filipino mafia in nursing. Okay. I'm not sure if I like that term, but okay. Many viewers commented on social media about this representation of Filipino nurses, with some noting the importance and accuracy of depicting a high percentage of Filipino nurses in hospitals. But this representation is not just happening on TV. Filipino nurses have been coming to the U.S. for decades and in greater numbers recently, but why? In 2024, 28,258 Filipino nursing graduates took the U.S. licensure examination for the first time. This high number of examinees is attributed to the allure of higher salaries and better career prospects abroad, particularly in the United States. The trend highlighted the ongoing issue of nurse migration from the Philippines, driven by insufficient compensation in their home country and better career prospects abroad. The substantial number of Filipino nurses pursuing licensure in the United States underscores a persistent challenge faced by the Philippine healthcare system. According to the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, a staggering 28,258 Bachelor's of Science in Nursing graduates opted to take the U.S. licensure exam, an outflow that has increased substantially post-pandemic. It is estimated that 54% of first-time Filipino test takers passed the U.S. exam, while 36% of repeat takers succeeded. The next largest countries with significant numbers of nursing graduates taking the U.S. exam in 2024 include India, Kenya, Nepal, and South Korea. This exit of nurses is primarily attributed to the discrepancy in compensation between the Philippines and countries like the U.S. Entry-level government nurses in the Philippines currently earn a basic monthly salary of, it says PHP 40,208, which is less than $700 a month in U.S. dollars, which pales in comparison to the potential earnings in developed countries. The allure of higher pay and improved living standards abroad has become a powerful motivator for many Filipino nurses to seek opportunities outside their home country. Other reasons for the outflow of nursing talent include high demand for nurses in the U.S. because we are facing a nursing shortage for a variety of reasons. Strong historic and cultural ties. The Philippines has a long history of training nurses for international work, especially in the U.S. These historical ties were during the American colonial period, which established an American influenced nursing education system. As a result, Filipino nurses are highly regarded in the U.S. for their skills, compassion, and adaptability. Visa programs and immigration pathways. The U.S. has visa programs like H-1B1 and EB-3 that cater to skilled workers, including nurses. Pandemic effects. The COVID-19 pandemic amplified the global nursing shortage, prompting the U.S. to fast-track the hiring of foreign-trained healthcare workers. So all of these different things, including increased accessibility to the NCLEX, recruitment by U.S. employers who go to the Philippines to find nurses to fill their wards. So again, these are things that are happening. There's more to this. Please head on over to nurse.org to finish reading this. There's legislative efforts ongoing, 2 bills that were proposed to increase the basic pay of entry-level public nurses with the goal of making local nursing positions more attractive. So they're going on things in the Philippines. They're trying to get things to keep their nurses home so they don't have that. But again, keep an eye on this. This is something we're going to keep watching. I've worked with Filipino nurses before. They're awesome. They're great. But I'm just saying that I feel bad that they have to leave their country and can't have a sustainable wage in their own country, leaving their country short of nurses too, just to supplement us when healthcare officials here won't do what they need to do to take care of our nurses here. So there's just a lot. All right, so let's get on to the next story because that brings us into this. Government's got in and stepped in because of a nursing strike. It says Providence and Oregon's Nurses Association intermediation at governor's request. Because both sides of the Providence healthcare strike have issued a joint statement. Over 5,000 nurses and 150 doctors walked off the job over staffing and compensation. So, at the request of the Oregon Governor, Tina Kotick, the Oregon Nurses Association and Providence are now re-engaging in intensive in-person mediation beginning today, January the 29th, and engaging in every effort to get this dispute resolved as expeditiously as possible. So we will see what happens with that. But I'd say good luck to them in their efforts. But this strike has gone on, so the governor got involved to say, let's go back to mediation and try to end it. Okay. So let's talk about another strike before we get into one of our stories of the day. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at that, but it's just bizarre when we get to it. We're talking about the Senate hearing today. So UMC nurses to strike during Super Bowl week in New Orleans. Nurses at University Medical Center said they plan to go on strike during Super Bowl week after negotiations on their first union contract stalled again. They're planning a 2-day strike starting on Wednesday, February the 5th. Nearly 600 nurses will participate in the strike, according to NOLA.com. This will be the second strike by UMC nurses, who said LCMC Health is stalling at the negotiating table. The strike comes after the vote to unionize in December of 2023. Because the Super Bowl is considered a peak event, the contract agency that will send in around 300 fill-in nurses requires a 5-day minimum, according to CEO John Nickens, meaning regular nursing staff will be absent through Sunday, February the 9th. Nurses stated they are striking due to concerns about insufficient staffing and delays in addressing contract proposals. Their priorities include higher pay, improved nurse-to-patient ratios, and enhanced workplace safety. Keisha Montes, a behavioral health nurse at UMC since 2008, emphasized that losing nurses to better paying jobs elsewhere only makes work harder for everyone. Strikes cost LMC Health around $2 million daily, largely due to the expense of bringing in travel nurses. LCMC Health said despite the planned strikes, the hospital will be able to meet the needs of all its patients. So again, supporting those nurses as they continue their strike effort. Hopefully they can come into a reasonable conclusion before that happens. But we shall see. All right. A recent study came out that showed that nurses are underrepresented in news media. This is coming from Newswise. It says nurses are the largest group of healthcare professionals in the United States, yet they remain underrepresented in healthcare or health news media. I happen to agree with that, and I've said that before. Otherwise, why would this show exist? The George Washington University School of Nursing Centers for Health Policy and Media Engagement partnered with the American Organization for Nurse Leadership to study the issue and look for solutions to the problem. As part of the research, a selected group of chief nursing officers from leading healthcare organizations participated in a specialized workshop designed to build strategic media engagement plans, ensuring that nurses' voices are integrated into their organization's external communications. And can I say this for 1 second? Because they're saying this, nurses are underrepresented in news media, but then the majority of the articles that I see a lot of times are very negative towards nurses. It's almost sometimes with glee that they put on, oh, another nurse is caught up in a scandal, or and I share those things on this platform for education purposes, so people don't do those things and end up in the news. But I want to say what I've seen overall is that when they do a story on nursing, it's often biased towards the health agency or the doctor, and a lot of times the nurses are swept under the rug. So I would like to see more journalists talk to nurses as sources, and not just, can I just say this, not just the director of nursing, because the nurses can be of great help and wealth of information for your articles if you reach out to them. And I know a lot of nurse writers, including myself, that would be happy to share information with others in the media. So this is one of the reasons why I have the show. And can I say, nurses are great at creating their own platforms, so we can't wait for them to invite us to the table. We've created our own platforms, such as our own news shows, our own comedy shows, our own social media following. These are some of the things that nurses are doing. But I digress. Let's get back to the article. Okay. The initiative was developed to foster long-term change, empowering the chief nursing officers to share their organization's nursing expertise with media outlets and shape public perceptions of nurses as healthcare experts. The research, Nurses' Voices in Media, Strategies for Chief Nursing Officers, was published in the Journal of Nursing Administration. That's great, but again, a part of my problem is that, yes, I think directors of nursing should be able to speak and be sources for articles and stuff like that, but let's not just talk to them, okay? Let's talk to the boots on the ground. Let's talk to those nurses that are in the trenches and ask them for information, because I guarantee you they've got stuff to tell you. All right. Let's go ahead and take a brief break, and then we're going to get into these last few stories. Tired of feeling trapped in a job that no longer fulfills you? Mm-hmm. Is your nursing job no longer the fun-filled adventure you imagined? Find your passion again through nurse entrepreneurship. Step out into the light and come feel the sun. Join the Nurse Shark Academy today at thenurssharkacademy.biz and come feel the sun. All right, I want to say thank you also to Marju for your kind words, and also to Aaron Walsh for hopping on. And yes, yeah, Medicaid was down, food stamps was down too. It was all because of confusion over whether or not they can bill and pay, and all this stuff was happening. So, yep, it's only going to get worse. So buckle up, because we're getting ready to talk about it. Okay. All right, so our next story. Let's get into it. From McKnight's Long-Term Care News, updated. Kennedy says nursing home staffing rule will be a disaster, shows Medicaid inexperience at Senate hearing. Like I said, if you didn't listen to that Senate hearing, and I did, and I just caught parts of it, but it was the part where they were asking him specifically about Medicaid, and he didn't know the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. It was pretty obvious. Anyway, so Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who should have done his homework, President Trump's nominee to head the Department of Health and Human Services, called a nursing home staffing rule a disaster and acknowledged a lack of nurses could lead to closures. Under questioning by members of the Senate Finance Committee Wednesday, Kennedy did not go so far as to say he would rescind or revise the rule, but he addressed its potential shortcomings in response to requests from Senator John Barrasso, Republican from Wyoming, to fix this serious problem. I think the rule was well-intentioned, but as you said, and I've heard from many rural senators, it will be a disaster for their states. These are staffing rules that require 24-hour staffing by medical professionals. Some of the nursing homes in rural areas simply do not have the personnel or the economics to be able to do that. Okay, can I just stop off and say, you've got residents who have 24/7 needs. So we just talked last week about a nurse that had 60 patients, and she was the only nurse in the building. And a patient wandered away, and they got her in handcuffs. And again, I get it, but this is where I think he doesn't know what he's talking about. Because how are you going to have nursing care, medical care, if there's no medical professionals? Don't get me started. We're going to send in athletic trainers. They have medical expertise, but they don't know all the stuff that you need to do for nursing home residents. We're going to send in a secretary. They have great skills, but they don't have the medical expertise. So make it make sense. But anyway, I go on. It says, Kennedy said that would mean the closure of nursing homes and the displacement of many residents. Or you can leave them there with poor care, not get turned, get wounds, and all that other stuff. No. It says elderly parents will be moved a great distance from the local community and their family. We know that the single greatest driver of high quality nursing home care is the involvement and the proximity of family members. Hmm. How about adequate staffing and resources? How about actually putting the money in towards the residents and not the CEO's new yacht? How about that? But anyway, you know how I feel about this. We've talked about this before. Um, yeah, so let's go on. Kennedy said that would mean the closure again of displacement of many residents. The statement likely bolsters providers' ongoing hopes that the new administration will kill the Biden era rule. While it went into effect in May, specific hiring provisions aren't scheduled to go into effect until 2026. Much of the hearing before an overflow crowd focused on Kennedy's vaccine skepticism, his intentions to reform food safety, and address the chronic healthcare concerns and ethics concerns. Now, I will have to say this because I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. There was one thing that I agreed with him on was that food safety concerns about the chemicals that we are putting in our food and the fact that we have other countries that won't allow us to put those same chemicals in the food. So they're making healthier food for other countries, but giving us the junk. Okay. So I that one, I actually kind of agree with him. I think we do need to look at some of the chemicals that we are allowing in our food and some of the additives, the dyes, and things like that, which are contributing to the health problems that we have going on in this country. Now, I'm not saying it's all that. That's not all the things, right? But I do think that is a chief component. And my question is, why are we allowed to have certain things when other countries won't allow it? Known carcinogens that are acceptable here in the US, but not acceptable in the EU. I have questions on that. So that's the one thing out of all that I did agree with him on. Okay, so I will tell you if I agree or disagree. This is my show. I can tell you my feelings on it. But yeah, I that was one thing I did agree with him on. But the whole other stuff, yeah, man, yeah, you should have done your homework. Anyway, but Medicaid programs, which Kennedy would ultimately oversee as HHS secretary, were brought up repeatedly. The committee's ranking member warned that Medicaid cuts managed by an inexperienced leader such as RFK Jr. would have devastating consequences in itself, leading to shuttering nursing homes. Republicans in Congress are proposing deep cuts to the program that will rip away the health care from millions of Americans who count on this very vital lifeline. Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, less than 10 minutes into today's proceedings. Cuts to Medicaid of this magnitude are going to jack up the cost of health insurance, shutter nursing homes, and deprive seniors and Americans with disabilities of home-based care. Mr. Kennedy has virtually no knowledge or experience in handling these issues. Wyden also noted that Kennedy, as a head of HHS and its Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, would make recommendations that determine which vaccine senior citizens get for free through Medicare. Chairman Mike Crapo, is that really his name? Blasted Wyden remarks as an attack before introducing Kennedy and allowing to make an opening argument for his nomination. Well, yeah, but I'm telling you, this is a big problem because most of the residents in the nursing home are there on Medicaid. So what are you going to do with them? What are you going to do with them? Medicare doesn't pay for nursing home care except for that 180 days for rehab. After that, you have to go on Medicaid or pay out of pocket. Most seniors are not able to do that. So let's just take away the people who are disabled, maybe you're on Medicaid because of that. I'm just talking strictly for seniors because we're talking about long-term care here. Who's going to foot the bill for that? How is it going to take care of that? Because family members can't do it a lot of times. So what's going to happen with that? And these are questions that he should have been able to answer. So if you want to read more about this, go ahead and head on over to that, and certainly you can rewatch it. But that's McKnight's long-term care news. You can certainly read into that. But those are those questions that I had, and I just happened to tune in because I was listening to another station. I flipped over on Sirius XM, and I was hearing the confirmation hearings, and I was curious because they were talking about healthcare. I didn't know he was up talking until then. And so that made me have those questions as well. So maybe we need to stop and think about this before we do something that causes disruption to millions of people's lives. All right. So we have two nurses making a difference today. I always like to bring out the good news at the end before we get into our announcements. So it says Troy University alumnus becomes Alabama's first nurse practitioner certified to supervise hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And I just thought this was an interesting article, so I want to share it with you. Troy Regional Wound Care and Hyperbaric Medicine nurse practitioner Shannon Godsave has made history as Alabama's first nurse practitioner certified to supervise hyperbaric oxygen therapy. The Alabama Board of Nursing granted him this prestigious approval, making a significant milestone in wound care and hyperbaric medicine. With this certification, GodSave joins an elite group of professionals at Troy Regional Medical Center, including Medical Director Dr. Richard Schlomer, Dr. Richard Boone, and Dr. Paul Delaney. Together, they provide specialized supervision for hyperbaric oxygen therapy. We're thrilled that Shannon has achieved this certification, allowing us to expand our services and better serve our patients, said Troy Regional CEO Rick Smith. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is a non-invasive outpatient treatment that enhances the body's ability to heal. During treatment, patients breathe 100% pure oxygen inside a pressurized chamber. The pressure is approximately 2.5 times greater than normal atmospheric pressure. This increased pressure helps the blood carry more oxygen, which promotes tissue repair and fights infections like osteomyelitis. Osteomyelitis is where there's an infection in the bone, which can cause limb loss. When combined with other treatments, hyperbaric oxygen therapy has demonstrated effectiveness across a range of conditions. And of course, it just stopped. It just stopped responding for the moment. So let me take a moment while we're doing that. All right. So I want to congratulate him for that because I think that that is just wonderful. Anytime that we can further education and offer more to improve access to our patients, I think that's great. So I want to say congratulations to nurse practitioner Shannon Godsave. Congratulations to him. And I cannot let it go without bringing up this story. Let's see if I can get it to work. I love it when it freezes on me in the middle of a show. Okay, so it's still frozen. So, all right. And so, lastly, before we get into our last story, let's talk about a couple of things as I get ready to pull it up. I love it when you have technical difficulties, right? But we do have an event coming up. So I'm very excited. So Baxter Professional Services Health Education has a TB instructor class available this Saturday. So if you are a licensed personnel or have a 4-year degree in a health-related field and you want to become a TB instructor, we have a class this Saturday. So please head on over to Baxter Professional Services Health Education.com and sign up for that training. That will be this Saturday, so you have a chance to still get in to do that training. All right, and then lastly, our last story and our last nurse making a difference. If I can find it, there it is. We want to honor the memory of Dr. Loretta Ford, the nurse who co created the nurse practitioner role, who died at the age of 104. The nursing community and healthcare industry are mourning the loss of Dr. Loretta Ford, a visionary leader who revolutionized nursing practice and education. Dr. Ford passed away on January 22nd, 2025, at the remarkable age of 104, leaving behind a legacy that continues to shape the nursing profession and healthcare delivery worldwide. Born on December 28, 1920, in the Bronx, New York City, Dr. Ford's journey in nursing began at the young age of 16 in New Jersey. Her commitment to healthcare was evidently early on when she enlisted in the U.S. Army Force as a nurse during World War II. During her military service, Dr. Ford pursued higher education with fervor, earning a bachelor's degree in nursing and a master's degree in public health from the University of Colorado. Her academic achievements culminated in a doctorate in education from the same institution in 1961. Dr. Ford's transformative contributions to healthcare began in the 1960s as she co founded the nurse practitioner role with pediatrician Henry Silver. Together in 1965, they established the first pediatric NP training program at the University of Colorado, launching an innovative solution to address the healthcare needs of underserved communities. The creation of the NP role was met with resistance from the medical community, which was resistant to accept nurses in expanded roles. Despite these challenges, Dr. Ford's tenacity and visionary leadership ultimately gained widespread support for the profession. As Dr. Ford once remarked, as nurses, we have a unique opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others every single day. We must constantly seek new ways to improve patient care and outcomes. Her persistence led to groundbreaking changes in how healthcare teams function, breaking down the rigid hierarchies that once separated medicine and nursing. Lisa Kitko, Dean of University of Rochester School of Nursing, reflected Lee Ford was a remarkable leader who transformed the face of healthcare through her fierce advocacy and bold vision. Dr. Ford's academic achievements were as profound as her clinical contributions. In 1972, she became the founding dean of the University of Rochester School of Nursing, where she pioneered the unification model of nursing. This holistic approach seamlessly integrated education, research, and clinical practice, setting a standard that is still in practice at academic medical centers today. Under her leadership, the University of Rochester's nursing program expanded beyond bachelor's and master's degrees to include doctoral and postdoctoral training. Dr. Ford's ability to foster collaboration between nursing and medicine helped elevate nursing to a critical, respected component of healthcare teams. Dr. Ford's contributions to nursing and healthcare continue to have a ripple effect. Today, there are over 385 nurse practitioners in the United States, of which I am proud to be one of them, and their impact on improving access to care is immeasurable. The role Dr. Ford helped create gained formal recognition in 1977 when the Rural Health Clinic Services Act officially acknowledged NPs as healthcare providers, cementing their place in the industry. Dr. Ford's vision, determination, and transformational leadership have enriched nursing opportunities and significantly improved patient health worldwide, said AANP President Stephen A. Fiera, DNP. Her legacy lives on through more than the 385 NPs licensed in the United States and their international colleagues who provide comprehensive, high-quality patient-centered care. Her work has also garnered numerous accolades. She received the Living Legend Award from the American Academy of Nursing, the Gustav O. Linhart Award from the Institute of Medicine, and the Surgeon General's Medallion in 2002. 2020. In 2011, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame, and in 2022, USA Today named her one of its Women of the Century for her profound contributions to healthcare. If you want to read more about her and her legacy, head on over to nurse.org. You can read that on their webpage. And I want to say, rest in peace, Dr. Ford. Thank you. You have served well, and your watch has ended. We thank you for all that you've done for us. That concludes all of our stories for the day. So let's talk a little bit about the announcements. I already talked about the TB training classes coming up on Saturday. On the following Saturday, February the 8th, we also will have our new training that's coming up. I'm very excited about this. I wanted to share this with all the nurses out there and those that are interested in becoming entrepreneurs. So we have a new training on February the 8th, and it is our nurse enterprise training. That will be at 11 o'clock. at the nurseShockAcademy.biz. Please go ahead and sign up for it there. Or you can also head on over to Eventbrite. It's also on our Eventbrite page. So you can sign up for the event there. But that is coming up. I'm excited about that we will have that available for you as well. If you haven't visited our website, head on over. Our new blog post just came out for our Nurse Shark Academy page. Our new blog post just came out and talking about seeing the positive as we head into 2025. Our break free, the nurse path, the nurse to entrepreneurship will be February the 8th. We just finished our Come Feel the Sun 5-day challenge, so we'll be having some information in this webinar, so you can sign up. It is free. It's a complimentary webinar. Sign up for that at the nurseSharkAcademy.biz. We'll also be having some additional workshops coming up in the next month, so please be on the lookout for that and to other trainings that we have. As always, we have CPR trainings, home health aid trainings, CNA trainings as well at Baxter Professional Services, healtheducation.com. I want to thank you for tuning in. We are over our time. I want to say goodbye. Thanks for those who are watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like the show. If you're watching us on YouTube as well, please don't forget to hit the notification bell. If you're following us on Facebook, leave us a like and a comment, and then share this information with others, because we want to share the word of what's happening in healthcare and keep you abreast of everything that's going on. I try to make this show informational as much as I can to give you the good content and the information and to bring you the nursing news that I have. So I will see you. And don't forget to head on over to our Nursing News You Can Use newsletter as well, that has information about what's happening in our leadership topic of the week. So don't forget our other show, the Nurse Shark Academy show, where we interview nurse business owners and leaders and get them to tell their story. All right. Thank you. And bye-bye for now, and see you next week.